You know that weird feeling when you step outside, and it's like poof, your neighbor magically appears, watering the same patch of grass for the third time today? Yeah, that's not just your imagination playing tricks. Sometimes the walls have ears, and the hedges have eyes. Neighbors who blur the line between a friendly wave and a full-blown surveillance operation can turn your peaceful home into a place you tiptoe around like a crime scene. If you've ever caught yourself whispering in your own kitchen, just in case someone is listening, congratulations. Your instincts might be trying to save your life. In this video, I'm revealing 5 unmistakable signs your neighbor isn't just nosy, they're monitoring you. These aren't harmless quirks, they're major red flags that could wreck your peace of mind if you miss them. So, stay close, because by the end of this, you'll know exactly how to spot the danger before it parks itself in your driveway. And hey, if you believe your privacy deserves a standing ovation, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We've got a lot more survival wisdom coming your way. Sign 1. They coincidentally appear every time you leave your house. Have you ever stepped outside your home, only to notice a certain neighbor coincidentally popping up again and again and again? It's not just your mind playing tricks on you. Sometimes your instincts are the first line of defense, trying to warn you that something beneath the surface isn't right. I'm not talking about the harmless, casual encounters, the friendly nod when you both grab the mail on Saturday morning. No, I'm talking about the unsettling pattern where someone seems almost magnetically drawn to your every movement, where casual turns into calculated, where coincidence begins to feel more like surveillance. Imagine this. A man I once knew, David, a retired firefighter, loved taking evening walks around his block after dinner. Quiet, simple, part of his routine. At first, he thought nothing of it when a neighbor from 3 houses down happened to be checking his car every time David strolled past. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe it was nothing. But then it escalated. No matter what time David chose to walk, early evening, late night, sometimes even in the rain, there that neighbor would be, pretending to organize his garage, sweeping an already clean driveway, or leaning against his car, scrolling aimlessly on his phone. What began as slight unease quickly deepened into something heavier, a sense that his movements weren't just observed, they were anticipated. There's a psychological term for this phenomenon: hypervigilant observation. It's when someone tracks your habits so closely that they can predict your next move before you even make it. And here's where it becomes dangerous. Because patterns aren't random, they're built through attention, intention, and often an unhealthy fixation. A neighbor who studies your routine so meticulously is rarely just being curious. They're conditioning themselves to believe your life is part of their territory. The Stoics understood this kind of hidden threat, even if they didn't have security cameras or Wi-Fi networks. They taught that control over your mind, not the outside world, is your greatest protection. Marcus Aurelius warned that disturbance does not come from events themselves, but from our judgments about them. When you feel something is wrong, you must trust that feeling, observe it clearly, but not let fear cloud your judgment. The goal is not to panic, it's to understand and respond with strategy. So, how do you protect yourself when coincidence turns to creeping certainty? First, document everything calmly, systematically. Keep a private log. Dates, times, what you noticed, what seemed unusual. Trust isn't enough when it comes to personal security. You need evidence. Technology, too, becomes your ally. Install cameras. Check the footage. Small patterns, like a neighbor hovering near your home minutes after you leave, reveal themselves over time. These aren't just useful for your peace of mind, they're critical if the situation ever escalates legally. Another tactic: disrupt the predictability. Change your routes. Leave at unusual hours. Park your car differently. See if your neighbor's behavior shifts with you. If they're truly monitoring you, you'll notice them adapting unnaturally quickly. This isn't paranoia, it's vigilance. It's understanding that safety isn't just locking your doors at night. It's reading the landscape of your life and seeing who's quietly trying to redraw the map. David eventually confronted the truth of his situation. He didn't lash out or accuse recklessly. Instead, he acted like a true Stoic, calm, rational, and prepared. He shifted his schedule without warning, documented the neighbor's repeated presence, and quietly involved local authorities when the behavior escalated to trespassing onto his lawn late at night. Because he trusted his instincts, remained composed, and took strategic action, he reclaimed his peace without ever descending into fear or rage. The hard truth is this: when you feel repeatedly watched, you probably are. The mind has a way of detecting threats before the conscious mind catches up. Ignoring it is not strength, it's self-betrayal. Real strength is acknowledging the threat, protecting your peace, and moving with quiet, unshakable confidence. Your sanctuary, your home, your mind deserves no less. Sign 2. Their technology is focused on you. Now, the second sign that your neighbor might be watching you is far more insidious, because it doesn't come with footsteps on gravel or a knock on your door. It comes quietly, through the very air around you. In today's digital world, surveillance no longer requires clumsy effort. A simple lens pointed in the right direction, a hidden device no bigger than a coin, a router quietly intercepting your signals, that's all it takes to turn your private life into public entertainment for someone with bad intentions. If you've started noticing little things, a neighbor's security camera that somehow captures your front yard, your living room window, your children playing, you must understand, this isn't just laziness. It's not poor installation. It's deliberate. The emotional toll begins subtly at first. A restless sleep, a flicker of irritation you can't explain, a growing reluctance to open your blinds. And then it deepens. Anxiety grows roots. Your own home, once the safest place on earth, becomes an invisible cage. You start doubting yourself, wondering if you're imagining it. But the truth is, your instincts are screaming the warning your rational mind is too polite to accept. Your space is being invaded. Technology has made this kind of intrusion effortless. A neighbor doesn't need to be tech-savvy to become a shadow haunting your daily existence. A smartphone left recording, a Wi-Fi signal capturing your conversations, smart devices glitching at odd hours, these are not quirks. They are cracks forming in the walls of your peace. And every day you ignore them, those cracks widen. The psychological impact of living under silent observation is corrosive. It eats away at your sense of freedom, of spontaneity, of being able to live without self-consciousness. You stop singing in the kitchen. You hesitate before stepping outside. You measure your laughter, your arguments, your grief. And soon enough, you aren't really living anymore. You're performing, constantly editing yourself for an unseen audience you never agreed to entertain. A Stoic would tell you this: the violation of your privacy is real, but the surrender of your peace is a choice. Marcus Aurelius taught that what stands between you and ruin is not what happens to you, but how you respond to it. Your neighbor's devices may be beyond your control, but the defense of your mind, your safety, and your dignity is entirely in your hands. You must act, not with panic, but with precision. Walk your property as if seeing it for the first time. Look higher. Look closer. Cameras can hide in light fixtures, fake birdhouses, even tree branches. Strange Wi-Fi signals that flicker into existence when you're home are not harmless jokes. They could be the first sign of digital intrusion. Battery drains, Smart devices activating uncommanded these are warning flares. Arm yourself with technology, encrypted networks, firewalled systems, cameras of your own pointed where they belong, guarding, not spying. Take control of your digital gates the way a commander fortifies his city before a siege. But above all, understand this: the greatest victory is not merely surviving under surveillance, it is refusing to allow fear to become your warden. Set your boundaries physically, digitally, and mentally. And once done, live fully within them, untouched in spirit, no matter who watches from the shadows. Because real freedom isn't the absence of intrusion, it's the refusal to surrender your mind to it. Sign 3. They know private details they shouldn't. Did you know that the average person's private life can now be reconstructed using less than 5 casual conversations overheard across a few days? In an age where information is currency, a neighbor who listens too closely isn't just curious, they're quietly building a blueprint of your life. And the third sign your neighbor might be watching your every move is when they seem to know far more about you than you ever intended to share. It starts innocently enough, a casual comment about your sister's new job in Phoenix, even though you never breathed a word about it outside your own four walls, a neighbor congratulating you on the pricey sneakers you ordered, online sneakers you hadn't even unboxed yet. It's a slow creep, barely noticeable at first, but once you spot it, you can't unsee it. A neighbor noticing a new haircut is one thing. A neighbor knowing you got it at precisely 2:30 p.m. last Tuesday and paid with your Visa card is something else entirely. That's not friendliness. That's surveillance. What's happening behind the scenes is even more unsettling. Psychologically, these neighbors often feel a sense of entitlement over your life, a warped belief that proximity gives them access. They rationalize their behavior under the guise of neighborly concern or casual observation. But make no mistake, the collection of small, seemingly innocent details about your private life is a form of control. It's how manipulators operate, by gathering silent ammunition without your consent. And the consequences are far deeper than feeling uncomfortable. When someone can predict your schedule, your movements, and your private decisions without you ever volunteering that information, your sense of personal safety begins to erode. You stop feeling free in your own home. You start censoring your own conversations, weighing every word, wondering what else has been overheard and cataloged. From a Stoic perspective, the path forward is clear. You cannot stop others from being who they are, but you can absolutely control the boundaries you set. Marcus Aurelius taught that external events have power only if we grant them authority over our minds. If your privacy feels invaded, you must act not by confronting recklessly, but by reclaiming control over what you allow to leave the sanctity of your own space. Start by testing the waters. Mention a fictional plan, perhaps a trip you're not actually taking within earshot of your home. If your neighbor later casually references it, you have your answer. The test is crude, but it's brutally effective. Meanwhile, tighten your defenses. Limit discussions near open windows. Use white noise machines against thin walls. Be cautious about what you post online, even small details like your location or routines. Understand that every innocent update can become a tool in the wrong hands. Creating strong information boundaries isn't about paranoia, it's about wisdom. It's the same principle the Stoics lived by, protecting what belongs to your mind, your peace, your private life from the encroachment of those who do not respect the invisible walls you have every right to maintain. Because, at the end of the day, a neighbor who feels entitled to the unseen corners of your life is not just nosy. They are erasing the invisible line that separates public interaction from private existence. And once that line is crossed, reclaiming it demands not fear, not outrage, but a firm, strategic defense of your personal sovereignty. And speaking of protecting what's yours, if you find this knowledge valuable, make sure to subscribe right now. Your future self will thank you for choosing preparation over regret. Sign 4. There's physical evidence around your property. The fourth sign that your neighbor is watching your every move is something you can no longer dismiss as imagination. It's something you can see, touch, and confirm with your own eyes. It's not about vague feelings anymore. It's about physical evidence, the unmistakable signs that someone has been too close to your personal space, observing, touching, gathering information without your knowledge or consent. Imagine this. A man named Richard, living in a quiet suburban neighborhood, always had a habit of aligning his welcome mat slightly tilted, a tiny, almost subconscious signature of home. But one evening, after returning from a weekend away, he found the mat placed perfectly straight, as if adjusted with meticulous care. He brushed it off at first. Maybe it had shifted in the wind, he told himself. But the next morning, he noticed something else. The potted plant by his front door, which he always faced toward the sun, had been turned toward the street. And then, a few days later, his mailbox, which he usually left tightly shut, appeared slightly ajar, even though no mail had been delivered that day. These were small details easy to dismiss if you wanted to. But deep down, Richard knew better. Something was wrong. Someone wasn't just passing by his home. They were interacting with it, observing it, testing the boundaries between outside and inside. And that's what makes this sign so emotionally devastating. When physical objects inside your private sphere are disturbed, it's not merely an invasion of space, it's a psychological invasion. Your home, the one place where you should feel completely secure, no longer feels impenetrable. Your sense of safety cracks because someone else's curiosity, or worse, their obsession has crossed into your reality. Subtle disruptions can speak volumes if you know how to listen. Mail that seems opened and poorly resealed, packages shifted away from usual drop-off spots, blinds or windows left slightly differently than how you set them. These are not accidents, they are signs, and ignoring them only gives more space for that invasive behavior to grow bolder. Security experts suggest setting up simple telltales: a sliver of clear tape across your doorframe, a small piece of paper placed delicately between the door and jamb. Breaks or falls when you're away can confirm if someone has entered your space. Should you find evidence, document everything meticulously. Date-stamped photos, a private journal noting times, disturbances, feelings. This isn't paranoia, it's preparation. It's building a foundation of proof that can protect you if escalation occurs. The emotional weight of such discoveries cannot be overstated. You start questioning not just your neighbor's intentions, but the very fabric of the community around you. Trust, once cracked, doesn't heal easily. And once the sanctuary of your home is breached, every small creak, every misplaced item becomes a reminder of vulnerability. From a Stoic perspective, there's a vital truth to remember. While you cannot prevent every external intrusion, you can decide how you respond internally. As Epictetus taught, it is not the events themselves that disturb us, but our interpretation of them. Recognizing the violation is necessary. Acting calmly and rationally securing your home, documenting your findings, fortifying your peace of mind is the Stoic way of reclaiming your autonomy. Physical evidence of surveillance is a warning siren. It is proof that a line has already been crossed from casual curiosity into unhealthy fixation. Trust your instincts, protect your space, and most importantly, protect the calm sanctuary of your mind. Sign 5. Their behavior escalates into obsession. The fifth and final sign that your neighbor isn't just nosy, but has crossed into something far more dangerous, is when curiosity mutates into obsession. Studies show that in over 70% of stalking cases, the victim knew the stalker personally and often ignored early warning signs, believing it was just concern or harmless interest. These escalations rarely happen overnight. They creep in slowly, normalizing themselves inch by inch until the situation turns from uncomfortable to dangerous. I want you to pause for a moment and think about the small interactions you've had with neighbors that left you uneasy, the way they lingered a little too long during conversations, the way their comments seemed oddly timed, almost as if they knew things you hadn't said aloud. How many times did you talk yourself out of the discomfort, just to avoid being seen as paranoid or rude? We all do it. We excuse instincts that were never meant to be polite. They were meant to keep us alive. Let me share a story. A woman named Karen, living in a quiet suburban cul-de-sac, thought nothing of the neighbor who always waved a little too enthusiastically when she left for work. Over time, he started asking about her job, mentioning small details she didn't remember discussing. Then, one evening, after a private phone call where she mentioned taking a weekend trip, a call made behind closed doors, she found a "Have a great trip" note left under her doormat. No one else knew about her plans. The coincidence jolted her, but she still told herself it was harmless. It wasn't. Within weeks, the neighbor escalated to entering her backyard when she wasn't home, claiming he was checking on her property. Karen's story is not unusual. It's a textbook example of how boundary violations start small until they spiral. Psychologically, this shift from casual, neighborly interest to unhealthy fixation is a deeply disturbing evolution. You are no longer being seen as a person. You are being seen as an object to monitor, to control, to insert oneself into without permission. When neighbors start positioning themselves as your protector, your confidant, while simultaneously isolating you from the community, it's not kindness, it's strategic manipulation designed to make you dependent and easier to control. From a Stoic point of view, the response must be immediate and rational. Marcus Aurelius taught us that external threats cannot define us, only our actions do. Documentation becomes your shield. Dates, times, conversations, even the smallest oddities. Build a timeline, not for emotional release, but for defense. If escalation continues, restraining orders, cease and desist letters, and anti-stalking laws exist to protect you. And don't second-guess involving law enforcement early. Their job is to intervene long before the situation turns tragic. Reach out to trusted friends and family. When predators escalate, they seek to isolate. Connection is your greatest weapon. This is not about confrontation. It's about protecting your life, your mind, and your right to exist without fear. Obsession rarely announces itself with flashing lights. It tiptoes in disguised as politeness, as concern, as coincidence. That's why recognizing the shift early and acting is crucial. Courage doesn't mean you feel no fear. It means you act to protect yourself despite it. Your instincts are ancient tools, honed for survival. Trust them, because once a neighbor crosses the line into obsession, your silence will not keep you safe. Only your action will. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You're officially part of the 1% who can actually spot the difference between a friendly neighbor and a full-time amateur spy. You now know the signs, the traps, and, most importantly, how to protect your sanctuary before someone else turns it into their personal TV show. Remember, awareness isn't about living in fear. It's about locking your doors before the wolf even thinks about knocking. You deserve to live with the curtains open and your heart at peace, not second-guessing every rustle at the mailbox. So, trust your instincts, protect your space. And if this video opened your eyes, don't stop here. Hit that subscribe button and join a community that refuses to sleep with one eye open. And hey, the next video the algorithm picked for you? It's not random. It's your next shield. Click it now. Your future self and your future peace of mind will thank you.